Hey everyone, today I want to talk about Chapter 5 Season 1 as a whole, while using this gameplay I recorded a day or two after the Turtles came out, which was right after the Medallion update. I'm going to focus less on what's going on screen and talk more about this chapter as a whole. So we started this journey on December 3rd, and honestly it feels like a lot longer with how many changes they've made to the game since not only OG Fortnite, but mainly the last modern season of Chapter 4 Season 4. It's taken so much getting used to that it feels like a much longer time. Just rattling off a few of these major changes, let's start with what was removed. Augments, capture points at named POIs, slurp juice and carryable slap juice, rocket RAM, DMRs, heals from big ammo boxes, keys and hollow chests, and much more. Then they added a whole bunch of new stuff, which takes a lot of time getting used to, which includes the grapple blade, riot shields, flow berries, medallions, attachments / workbenches, and of course they just outright changed the game entirely with a few major alterations in the storm moves much faster now. All guns except for shotguns are now projectile and not hit scan. You can now move with most healing items and you won't cancel the heal. In addition, you can also heal partially from a big pot or a med kit, which was never a possible option before. The movement from sprinting to walking to crouching has been completely reworked. Cars were given boost and slightly better off-road utility with the sacrifice of much greater gas usage. So these are quite a few changes that take getting used to, all while dealing with learning the new map, new bosses, the mythic POIs, the vaults, and their layouts. I still don't know how to get to the Grand Glacier workbench off the top of my head. I always need the assistance of the medallion. One huge downside to this chapter is we haven't been given the new weapons or movement in creative yet. So practicing with different attachments and trying to at least sort of recreate the gameplay as we could before is just impossible at the time of this recording. So let's talk about a few of these changes a little bit more in depth. And the first one that I want to discuss is my absolute favorite and something that I never ever thought that Fortnite would do, and that's the removal of hit scan from nearly every weapon in the game. I personally never thought that hit scan made sense. It doesn't recreate a shooting game very accurately. Most guns that that shoot in real life aren't laser guns. They can't shoot like that. I mean, in fact, zero guns in the real world can shoot at a one frame, speed. So that just never made any sense to me. I am glad that I got to experience things like the twin mag AR, because that thing was an absolute menace to society. It really was a laser gun, and it was just too easy to beam people with it. So same goes for every red dot AR that came before it. The only scoped hit scan AR that I ever felt was fair was the 2-shot AUG that came around during like the chapter 3 season 3 times. I'm not sure how long around before it was there, but I know it was there in that season when my Dragon Ball collab first came out. Its rate of fire was slow enough and the damage output was low enough that it just didn't really feel like it was insanely unfair like a lot of these other guns do. I really love that now every weapon feels like it requires skill to use at range except for the Reaper sniper rifle. This gun is just too good, and it honestly deserves a nerf. I barely even have fun using it anymore. It's so busted, and if you've checked our channel recently, I just put out a short of my top 10 clips with it, so I have been using it and I had enjoyed it. But the rate of fire is too high, the bullet velocity is too high, and the gravity on the bullet is just too low. It just takes so much distance for it to start dropping off. I think it literally needs all three of those things to be nerfed for it to feel like a fair weapon. And also, if you really wanted to, you could drop it down from a 3-shot magazine to a 2-shot magazine, and I wouldn't be mad. And then make the drum mag bring it back up to 3 shots. Because 5 shots with a drum mag is just insane, and 3 shots as a base is really insane, in my personal opinion. With making every gun projectile, the sniper rifle now has a clear advantage at literally every range, where before that was its big disadvantage. It had to worry about getting beamed by a twin mag. So if Fortnite wasn't the game of switching weapons, maybe if we had classes and the sniper rifle could only be paired with like a pistol or something, that would be okay. But since you can just, snipe, switch to an AR, switch to a shotgun, it's too busted, honestly. And everyone has them. I mean, I know that they just reduced the spawn rate by like 42% or whatever, but that doesn't really matter when at all of these vault locations that you get pretty much a guaranteed sniper rifle. Not every vault, I mean the medallion vault, guaranteed sniper rifle. So at least 5 players on the map who went for the vault are gonna have a guaranteed sniper rifle. They still do spawn on the map. You still can get them from those underground locations. So I think that sniper rifles are just far too common. If they took them out of the underground locations, if they took them out of the vault guaranteed, I think they would feel a little bit more fair. Snipers just either make them more rare or nerf them outright. But in the current state of the game, when you get to top 10, you can pretty much be guaranteed that all 10 players have a sniper rifle, unless you're me, because I try to not carry a sniper right now because it just hasn't been as fun as it was in the first part of the season. So Storm Towers also changed, and they changed for the better. I love Storm Towers. I think they're perfect right now. I thought that they were a little bit too difficult to kill before. The boss had too much health, and it was just very easy to get third party, especially with their locations in Chapter 4, Season 4, but right now, I think they're great. They made a good balance adjustment in that they don't drop slurps anymore, they don't drop a good weapon. I mean, they drop a purple Nemesis AR, which is not really a good weapon. I'll pick it up and use it half the time because I like the Nemesis. I feel like I'm one of the few people who actually plays the Nemesis right now, but only if it has a scope on it. It's a purple weapon, has 3 attachments. It's not guaranteed to have a scope. It is guaranteed to have 3 attachments, not guaranteed to have a scope. So I only pick it up sometimes, but the best thing about it is that it's just they're much easier to kill right now. The boss and the henchman, they're much easier to kill, and as a result, you get the keycard quicker, you can put it in the tower quicker, and you can also, you're not marked on the map anymore when you hold the keycard. So the balance is nice. It's easier to kill the boss, you're not marked on the map, but you don't get quite as much from killing it. However, the big advantage right now is I do believe, in my personal opinion, that the storm forecast is at a much higher advantage now than it was before. I think this because the storm is now moving at a much faster pace, where in Chapter 4, Season 4, we had much longer storms. We had longer storms in endgame, middle game, so it didn't quite make as big of a difference, but since we're now rotating more often, and just the storm is moving faster in general, it just feels more valuable to have the forecast, and that's the main reason why I like going for these towers. I like augments, I miss augments, I wish augments were back in the game. However, I don't like the types of augments that were my favorite augments last season, and I know that may be a little confusing at first, but hear me out. So my favorite augments last time we had them in the game were things like on-the-go bag, soaring sprints. Well, in case you weren't playing the game, let me just rephrase. On-the-go bag gave you potential to get shockwaves every time you opened basically anything. Soaring sprints gave you an insane jump boost every time you sprint and jumped, and it negated fall damage. So it made shocking. If you shockwaved and did a sprint jump, you would just fly. It just absolutely fly. Roaming redeploy, I remember, was nice, being able to get the redeploy effect. Things like high voltage, where you would get EMPs every time you would kill somebody. So these were my favorite augments. However, they were busted. They were very, very overpowered, and I don't really want to see overpowered things like that in the game again. I like augments that are helpful, but not busted. Things like maybe Mud Warrior, Aquatic Warrior, like little heals here and there. Maybe the Storm Chaser one, where you could sprint for like a little bit longer. You know where I thought was a good one was like the sprinting, or you would get more sprint off of mantling. I forget what it was called, but it was just little things where you get a little bit more mobility, little utility. I think little utility is nice because when you get these augments, it's like, oh, cool, I have this. But things like soaring sprints or on the go bag, I would sit there re-rolling all my gold for every game sometimes, trying to get the proper loadout, because I would get, say, certain weapons or certain whatever. I can't tell you how many times I just said this to myself. I can just get this one augment, I know I can win the game. And I don't like feeling like that. Like I want to rely on the augments. I want the augments just to be nice little complementary pieces, not main parts of a strategy. So I hope that augments, when they come back, they don't bring back anything too crazy. I know that we've seen some augments that are quote unquote in the game that haven't been released yet. I thought we would have had augments brought back by now anyway. One reason why I do like having augments is because I feel like I'm at max gold like all the time now. I've been at 5k gold for so long, and even if I just get down to, say, I don't know, 3,000 gold, like I think since I've been up past 4k gold, I haven't dipped below 3k gold once, and I've been playing team games. I've been buying heals for my teammates, I've been upgrading my weapons at the benches, I've been, hiring NPCs, I've been doing all this stuff, and I still feel like, because gold is just so easy to get right now. I'm not really sure why they left the feature, I'll call it. I thought it was a glitch at first. I think a lot of us did, but I'm not sure why they left the feature in the game of where if you EMP a vending machine or mending machine, that you will get gold back from it, because EMPs are extremely common in the game right now. So between EMPs, the Christmas presents, and all that stuff, I think that bots / the bosses, like their henchmen, they drop gold now. So I think you can get gold just from a lot more locations than we had in the past, and it's just very easy to keep stacked up, especially without the augments draining our gold. So I would like augments to come back, not feel like they're a complete necessity, but be like a nice little complementary piece to the game. So now it's actually a bit ironic that they took DMRs out of the game, when I feel like would be perfect in the game right now. We don't have anything that kind of feels like a DMR, like a 10 to 15 shot magazine where the bullet does like 40 to 50 damage. I mean, DMRs have always been projectile. The only thing that I didn't like about DMRs of the past is they had started kind of like removing the damage that I felt like they deserved. The Cobra DMR was one of my favorite DMRs that had good damage output. The original DMR, it was just called the DMR. I don't know if it was the original, but it was around that Chapter 3, Season 3 time. It did about 48 to 52, I think, think, depending on the rarity. It was a very solid weapon. I like that DMR, and I feel like guns like that would feel nice in this current season. The bullet velocity felt fair, the damage felt fair, and it would be like a nice mid-range counterpart between snipers and ARs. I think even the last DMR that we had coming out of Chapter 4 Season 4, the tactical DMR with the variable zoom, would be very cool to have right now. I mean, even just say, like, hypothetically speaking, say you just took that gun, you couldn't add any more attachments to it, but you did leave it with the variable zoom. I think it would be a very fair gun in the game right now. Its rate of fire feels fair, the zoom distance feels fair, and the bullet velocity feels fair, along with the bullet drop. So I think that that would be pretty cool if we could get a gun like that in the game. I've always liked that medium range, and I feel like the medium range is currently dominated by sniper rifles, and it's just not a very fun meta for me personally. That's why I've been running the anti-sniper meta, but I think a DMR would be a nice little, it probably would get just beamed by snipers at the current point, but if they could maybe nerf snipers, add a DMR, we could have a little bit more balance in our current loot pool. Another thing that kind of got the improper timing, like was in the game when it was around a bunch of hit scan weapons, and that made it worse, was the rocket ram. I feel bad for the rocket ram. That thing came out a couple seasons ago, and if you were playing in a lobby of any decent players, you really couldn't use it because it just was getting destroyed by the twin mag. It would get absolutely lasered out of the air. It was slow going up, slow going down. It was in a predictable pattern, and if it was coming at you, just forget about it. It was just incredibly easy to hit someone with. But right now, if they put the rocket ram in the game, I feel like it would be in a much better position, because without a twin mag, without something to beam it out of the air, it would really only have to fear a sniper rifle, maybe striker AR at like really close ranges, but a lot of things aren't going to beam it like it would have gotten destroyed in the past. So I feel like things like that should get a second chance in the future of, Chapter 5. Maybe we could see DMRs back, maybe we could see rocket ram back, things like that. I kind of understand why they removed the heals from big ammo boxes, but I still would like them back. My guess is that the buff to heal items overall meant that they wanted to make them a bit more rare to counter their increased utility. However, with the removal of slap juice and them being replaced by flowberries, I just feel like this season more than ever, I am now low on white heals. At least in OG Fortnite, we had apples all over the place, but I personally feel like flowberries should be able to heal white and shield health just like slap juice could, and that would be a great adjustment to the current season. Speaking of flowberries, I might as well mention how much I love them and that they are usually the main heal that I carry. I know it's a bit weird because they only heal 15, but I was honestly doing that when they only healed 10 and just using other players' heals when I killed them if needed. The reason for this is because of my current favorite loadout. I enjoy running two guns, usually Frenzy Auto, either Nemesis or Striker AR, EMP grenades, flowberries, and shockwaves. I plan to make an entire video on this loadout as it's insanely fun. I call it the anti-sniper loadout, as you may have heard me mention before. Flowberries and shockwaves allow you to gain the soaring sprint effect found when we last had augments, which is by far the most broken movement that is in the game currently, and maybe even ever. I'm not sure if we've ever been able to move better than flowberry plus, like, without a vehicle. I don't think, like, flowberry / soaring sprint plus shockwave, you really do just fly through the sky. Then coupling flowberries by themselves, you can use EMPs or the frenzy auto really effectively, just kind of jumping around, floating through the air. And of course, shockwaving onto your opponent with an EMP or shotgun is always a solid tactic. I don't see why they needed to remove keys and hollow chests, honestly. Those were cool. Extra loot is always nice. I suppose they were in a way replaced by like the underground locations that always have guaranteed gun cases in them, but I like getting the keys and going to find a good shotgun or AR or something. I suppose keeping the rarity average overall down is a fine thing to do. I know players like that in OG Fortnite. People said that finding a rare weapon was like one of their favorite parts, so not having rare weapons all over the place in the hollow key chest, I guess, kind of makes sense. Let's talk medallions, folks. It's time. Let's talk medallions. When they were first released, when the season first came out, I didn't like them. I thought that they were super OP. The risk to reward was super low risk and very high reward. I'll put it that way. I've been playing a little bit more builds this season, and in builds, I think that they were just like insanely busted. To have an overshield, basically recharge, like build fights can take forever at times. So to have something like recharging you while you're build fighting is just too busted. So I am so happy that they nerfed them. I really don't like mechanics that allow good players to snowball the lobby, meaning if they start doing well, they just get more powerful and better and better and better, and the medallions were literally that. The way they are now, they're balanced enough. I still don't love them. I would honestly prefer if they were removed entirely. Although one current complaint that I do have is I think that the current circle is a little bit too faded on the map. If someone has only one or two medallions, I think it should still be like a little bit darker, a little bit thicker, a little bit easier to see. I would like if the yellow still also had like a little bit of effect around it, like when they first came out. Right now it's just a circle, whereas when they originally came out, it was a circle that was like completely filled in, and it had like almost a pulsating effect around, not pulsating, but kind of hard to explain, but it was moving basically. So I would like if it was a little bit easier to see on the map currently, although I'm so glad they reworked them and adjusted them to their current standing, because they were just too good when they first came out. I love attachments, and I just don't love how they did them in this game. I think that the workbenches should be way more common. There's no need to tie them to the vaults and the bosses. Like, so right now, if you get a vault POI, you get a medallion, a mythic, and the vault with the workbench inside. That's basically 4 things. I think that you don't need to have that 4th thing in the workbench in every vault POI, every boss POI. Like, they could have just spread the workbenches out, put them in different locations, they could have had those 7, right now there's 7 spots on the map where a workbench can spawn. I feel like you only get 1 or 2 per game. I've only ever gone to maybe 3 or 4 locations, and sometimes I've gone to 3 or 4 and gotten 0 of them, of the 7 locations. But I feel like if they made, say, 7 locations with a guaranteed workbench, and then just took the workbenches out of the boss POI or left them in, I don't care. But just don't make those the main workbenches, I think would be best, because it just ties too much of the lobby to those hotspot POIs. I like where all the value is kind of spread around the map, so that more players can kind of go to more places and not feel like, okay, if I don't go to, you know, fencing fields or lavish lair, that I'm gonna miss out on like basically, you know, 90% of the good stuff early game. I prefer a game where the loot is a little bit more spread out and the players can spread out and everyone doesn't basically die within the first 2 storm circles. But honestly, even with all that being said, I would have just preferred if they did an Apex style gameplay where you can just swap the attachments from weapon on the fly. If you folks haven't played Apex before, it's basically like that, where say you find, you know, a gun and you find a scope and you can put the scope on the gun. Any scope can go on any gun, basically. Not every I don't think it's every scope on every gun, but most scopes can go on most guns. We'll say that way. Like, you can't put, I think, like, you know, an 8x scope on a pistol, but, you know, why would you want to? Whereas in this game right now, I think you can put like the 4x scope on a shotgun, and once again, why would you want to? So I think that it would be cool if they just let you pick up, you know, the attachments, and they had attachment slots and you could just put them on the gun yourself and switch them around yourself. That would be a lot better. I just want to find a 1.3x scope. I feel like finding a 1.3x scope on an AR is so hard right now. Finding a workbench if you don't go to a vault, a boss vault, is so hard right now, and that's just a bit of a pain to me. I like things to be quick. I like them to be easy. I think for this one thing, Apex did it right. Fortnite kind of made it clunky for no reason. It does fit the theme of Fortnite though, with the whole bosses and this and that and the AI and yada yada, but I don't like clunky. I don't like all that. Overall though, Chapter 5 Season 1 has been an absolute blast, and I think that the changes made have been for the best, and it will provide long-term health for the game. I'm really excited to see what Epic has in plan for the coming months leading up to Season 2, but stay tuned to this channel. I'm already working on the anti-sniper loadout video, so keep your notifications turned on so you don't miss that, any of our shorts that we've been uploading more of, or when we go live, which is usually 2 to 3 times per week. Thank you, love you all, and we'll see you on the next one.